We present to your attention a unique conversation between Dr. Oleg Maltsev, world-renowned scholar, and Tom Big L. Schreiter, the MLM Industry Legend. Tom Big L. Schreiter is the MLM Industry Legend. He is one of the most successful people in the history of direct selling. He has more than 48 years of experience in network marketing and MLM. As the author of the original Big L training books in the late 70s, he has continued to speak in over 100 countries on using the exact words and phrases to get prospects to open up their minds and say yes. Dr. Oleg Maltsev is a world-renowned European scholar. He is the head of the Memory Institute named after Grigory Semyonovich Popov. He is an author of exceptional scholarly works in criminology, psychology, and philosophy. He is a presidium member and academician of the European Academy of Sciences in Ukraine.
Мое почтение.
Good afternoon or late afternoon.
Oleg says, I'm very glad to meet you.
Thank you.
Я хотел бы с уважаемым Томом Шрайтером поговорить о его работах на протяжении всей жизни, о том, как он изучал навыки.
I would like to speak with most respected Tom Schreiter about his works and how he's been researching the skill acquisition and skills in general.
Okay, it's the skill is to get other people to make a yes decision. That's the skill.
И вот у меня первый вопрос, он как бы выглядит так: почему вы начали заниматься изучением навыков?
And Tom, the first question is, why did you start studying this skill?
Well, first of all, because my life has been in sales and selling. And second of all, as an educator, unless you can transfer your message inside their head where they believe it, we waste our time.
Как мы могли бы с вами охарактеризовать вот это слово навык? Что значит навык?
Tom, then would you mind giving a definition of skill? How would you define this word?
Well, in the sales profession, they talk about two very different areas. One is mindset, how we think, and the second one is the actual skills of doing the job.
Почему важно мышление?
And why, in the first place, there is mindset? Why is that important?
That is the most difficult, and that's the one most people talk about. If you don't want to learn, if your mindset is bad, there's no sense in even bothering to learn skills. So a quick example would be, I wanted to become an airplane pilot. And that's a mindset. I can hope for it and have goals, but I still can't do it. So the skills is going to school like I did and actually taking flying lessons.
То есть, мечты недостаточно.
So what you mean is that dreams and thinking is not enough?
No, it's if you only have dreams, you only fly one time. So my career is mostly about the skills because very few people teach the actual skills. They all want to talk about mindset. It's more fun to talk about.
Окей, скажите, Том, тогда такую вещь. Вот вы написали много книг. Вот по сути своей, как бы нам научиться ориентироваться в ваших книгах?
Tom, since you have authored a lot of books, about 50 books, as you have said,
Yes.
Oleg is asking what you would advise on how to orient in this pile of books, what to start first and maybe classify them somehow.
Everybody comes into life in our business with a different set of skills, so they may need different ones. It's up to them.
Ну вот какая книга за что отвечает?
Could you please then define in short which book is responsible for what, to put it simply?
Well, the most popular topic that people want to know is how to close prospects for selling. And almost 100% of the people have no idea how other people make up their minds. They think that people make decisions on information, but we know that is not true. Salesmen and educators try to convince people with education, and it doesn't work. Here is the example I like to use that proves information is useless. I ask people to think about all the fat people they know. Every fat person in the universe knows how to lose weight. Number one is eat less food, and number two is exercise more. Every fat person in the universe got the information. So if information made a difference, of course, there would be no fat people. And that's when people realize all their arguments and information is useless. So that's the most interesting for people to begin with, because we have to get people to believe our message the rest of our lives. So I have fun asking people, how do other people make decisions in their minds? And they all have theories that are, well, not very good.
Том, скажите, пожалуйста, если информация не имеет значения, что имеет значение?
Tom, if information as it is doesn't make any difference, doesn't play a role, then what does matter in closing the deal?
There's many things, but here is the big one. Our subconscious mind, which is the autopilot for us, works on pre-existing programs. So when we walk, we don't have to say left foot, now the right foot. It's automatic. It's the same when we make decisions about almost everything in our lives. So we get these automatic programs from past experiences, from our teachers, from our parents. And inside of us, the decision is automatic with no thinking involved. For example, if you say to me, chocolate ice cream, my answer is yes already before any more information. If somebody says chocolate ice cream, I am yes, I am ready. My internal program says I love chocolate ice cream. And if you said to me the word cabbage, my internal program would go, that's not very satisfying. So that's just based on my past experience. But we got programs from parents and teachers that told us to like people from this country or not, to believe in this political party or not. So many programs were given to us. So a simple sales technique is this. The first thing we do is listen to understand what their programs are. And then we choose the words that will get that program to say yes.
Окей. То есть, по сути своей, мне сначала надо моего собеседника разговорить, верно?
In other words, the first step is to make our conversationist speak about.
Yes.
То есть
Right.
говорить самому сразу как бы нет никакого смысла, верно?
Because starting speaking, if we start speak a lot in the beginning, there's no point in doing that. First, it should be the other person speaking. Is that right?
Correct. We don't know their programs unless we observe closely or talk to them.
Окей, получается, нужен навык доставать из человека эту программу, эту информацию, верно?
In other words, does it mean that one should also have a skill of obtaining that information from another person?
Absolutely. Yes.
Да. То есть тогда, получается, этому навыку можно как-то обучиться.
Which means that there is a way to get the skill, get that specific skill.
Yeah. That's what I teach, is how to use words so they expose how they feel.
А каков принцип этого метода?
And Tom, would you mind sharing what is the principle, main premise of that method?
Я понимаю, что это долгий разговор, чтобы объяснить, но вот сама сердцевина, в чем смысл, как бы, этого метода.
Because Oleg says that I totally understand that this would be a very long talk in order to explain all that. So he's asking, would you mind sharing what is that hardcore of that method?
Let's say that you wanted to sell someone a house. Our initial conversation would have these two sentences. The first one is, what do you like most about where you live right now? Now, asking most, it's very positive, so they're not going to resist this question at all. That gives us permission to ask the second question. What do you like least about where you live now? That is the only question we really need to listen to, because people have great motivation to fix their problems. So knowing the answers to just those two questions would probably make us a super salesman.
То есть, по сути своей, если я знаю ответ на эти два вопроса, дальше мне нужно построить диалог таким способом, чтобы эта покупка разрешала все его как бы предыдущие проблемы, верно?
In a way, having exact answers to these questions should lead me to building a conversation in a way that him buying the house would solve all his problems that he's mentioned.
Correct. It would be so easy.
Ну, это легко только на словах, как бы, а в жизни это непросто.
Well, it's so easy when we speak, but when it comes to real life talking, it's not that easy.
Well, the secret is when you ask, what do you like most? They're not resistant at all, and it gets them talking and very comfortable. And then the second question is very easy.
Получается, что сначала мне нужно определенными вопросами разговорить клиента, верно?
So to put this into minute details, the first step, we make a person talk about himself, about what bothers him by asking right questions.
Correct. And people love talking about themselves.
А второе, мне нужно построить диалог таким способом, чтобы мои знания теперь об этом человеке помогли ему принять решение, решая его проблемы при помощи покупки этого дома, верно?
And the second stage, we should build a conversation in a way that we use the knowledge that we already have about that person in a way that to help him solve his problems by buying that house in this context.
Yes, and people are 10 times more motivated to solve a problem than they are to get something good in their lives. People hate problems.
Окей. Получается, ведь проблемы бывают большие и маленькие, правильно?
And speaking about the problems, we have two types of them, right? To roughly speaking, we have really large, serious problems and minor ones.
Yes, there's lots of problems. There's no shortage of problems in the world.
Правильно ли я понимаю, чем больше проблема, тем эффективнее продажа?
And do I understand correctly that the bigger, the more severe is the problem for a person, the faster is the closing the deal?
Absolutely. The more pain they feel, the quicker they will take action.
Окей, я понял. Том, тогда у меня вопрос как бы следующий. Помните, вы говорили о том, что толстые люди не хотят похудеть?
Tom, another question is about the following. Remember, in the beginning, you spoke about that fat people are not willing to become fit.
Yes. They have the information, though.
И получается такая ситуация, что они это просто проблемой не считают, верно?
Then is it the case that those fat people, they just do not consider that to be a problem?
They haven't considered it a problem yet. But we can make them feel very bad about the problem.
Это тоже навык.
And that is also a skill, isn't it?
Yes.
То есть помогать осмыслять человеку проблемы, это тоже навык.
In other words, to help a person to completely comprehend the problem is also a skill. to help him understand the problem fully.
And we can increase their awareness of their pain with a few simple words. And the words are you okay with keeping this problem? So I might say, are you okay with staying at your home now and never having a better home for your family? And their pain awareness just goes up.
То есть, получается, нам нужно научиться понимать проблемы другого человека.
Just to sum up what you said, first, we should have the skill of understanding the problem, the exact problem of other people.
Надо научиться, как вот на радио, управлять степенью боли этих проблем.
We should have the skill to adjust and regulate the amount of pain they have, just like on the radio.
Yes.
Да. И после того, как мы этому обучимся, нам надо научиться использовать эти проблемы в лингвистических конструкциях для того, чтобы человек принимал правильное решение при покупке.
And then one should learn how to use those problems that he found about he properly used those problems by means of correct linguistics to help a person to make the right decision in closing the deal.
Yes, people naturally want to fix their problem. All we have to do is make them more aware.
То есть, получается, работа с людьми состоит из 3 навыков.
Tom, could we boil down that working with people, closing the deals, stays on 3 pillars that are just like 3 skill pillars?
Из понимания проблем, умения доставать из человека проблемы.
Obtaining information, skill of obtaining that problem from a person.
Умение регулировать степень боли этой проблемы.
Knowing how to regulate that immensity or intensity of the pain.
И умение с помощью лингвистики использовать этот потенциал для заключения сделки.
And capability to use that knowledge potential to close the deal. 3.
Yes, that would be it. Very easy.
Это все, но это все, если бы это было так просто, то, наверное, все люди в мире заключали бы миллиардные сделки каждую минуту.
But meanwhile, speaking of nuances, if it was that easy, then probably everybody on this earth would be closing the deals that would amount to billions and billions.
True. Unfortunately, people don't do it.
Во-первых, они о них не знают, Том.
First of all, Tom, not everybody knows about these 3 skills.
That's the problem.
Они об этом не знают. Второе, они я же так понимаю, просто знать недостаточно, нужно тренировать постоянно все эти 3 навыка.
So first of all, they do not know, and then as I understand, it's not enough just to have those skills. One should continuously train and perfect them. Is that right? In the course of...
Yes, and we learn more ways of getting decisions, but that is an easy one for them to start with.
А какие еще?
Tom, you said that we learn also other methods of closing the deals. Could you please share what are the other methods?
Well, the more they understand the human mind, the better they are at choosing what they do. People can have good common sense knowing how to talk if they understand the rules of the mind. People were taught to give people information and then try to close them for a decision, but that was wrong. So one of the first rules we teach them is that the human mind makes decisions instantly and then asks for details later. This is hard for people to accept because we would like to think we think things out intelligently, but of course we don't. So the decision is instant based upon pre-existing programs. If the decision is yes, then and only then do they want any details. Here is an easy example to remember. Dating apps on the phone, dating app. A man will swipe no, 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 no. And then finally, yes. And then, and only then, does the man want details about that particular person. So decisions come first, details come second. And this is a very hard concept for people to accept. So knowing those two rules, no information and instant decisions, help guide us to talk to people correctly.
Но для того, чтобы ему сказать «да», ему же все равно какая-то предпосылка нужна, он что-то должен получить.
But for a person to say yes, he has to have that certain something like premise that comes before in order to say yes. He has to have something, that reason to say
yes. That's our internal programs making that decision based upon our past and current programs. It's a very, very quick decision that we do not control.
Какова должна быть предпосылка, чтобы человек сказал «да»? Откуда мы знаем, что ему нужно сказать, чтобы он сразу принял? Вот эта автоматика сработала. Как ее... То есть, получается, мы должны спровоцировать автоматику сказать «да».
So, if conventionally speaking, let's say there is an automatic system in the human body. And so if you say that it gives instantaneous decisions, so how do we... Basically, do we have to like provoke that system to say yes? So how do we know that? How to make him say yes? There has to be something that the automatic system leans on to say yes. Some belief or past experience, as you have said. So how do we know that? How to get that yes?
Well, number one is past programs. Number two is, they say cognitive dissonance or confirmation biases. The human brain has a lot of bad programming. So the second thing is we learn all the bad programming of the human brain. So here is an example of getting a decision for somebody to trust us. Politicians use this particular technique all the time. They want to get elected, so they want people to say, yes, I want to vote for you. So this technique is 3 steps. Step 1 is to tell the audience a fact that they already believe. So the politician might say, we all need a better life and more money. And the audience goes, you believe what I believe. You are a genius, just like me. I can trust you because you and I think the same. Then tell the audience a second fact that they already believe. Our country's 6-day work week is too long. It should only be 5 days a week. And now the audience says, you are... we're joined at the hip, just like Siamese twins. We believe, we have the same minds. And step 3 is, now that they believe us, tell them what you want them to do, which is, so vote for me so I can make this country great again. Now we know politicians lie, but we fall for this every time. We always do this. So another technique is to get people's trust early by talking to them about what they believe already. So another technique on how to do it would be to understand that the number one program in the human mind is to survive. We don't like taking chances. We don't want to die. We go out to eat. There's 2 restaurants, and one restaurant is empty. The other one has a long line waiting to go inside. So our survival program says it's safer at the crowded restaurant. You have to eat there. Or if we walk through a bad neighborhood late at night, do we want to walk through alone or with a group of other people? And of course, with other people. So we find safety in numbers. And we can trigger this program very easily in their mind with 2 words. Those words are most people. So a politician would say most people want a better weekend. Or most fat people would love to lose weight if it was easy. The human mind has a lot of flaws, so it's easy when we understand what they are.
А что мы дефектом считаем?
And when we say the human mind has a lot of flaws, what are those? What is flaw? What
Okay.
are those?
One of the flaws is we don't want to change our mind. It's easier for people to defend their current wrong beliefs than to change to something correct. An example would be in the United States, they currently argue about vaccine. Some people want it, some people don't, and they don't want to change their minds. So people have these built-in biases or flaws that they cannot personally overcome. Scientists and researchers have this problem too. If you've been working 15 years to prove a certain theory, and the data shows that your theory is wrong, you will work hard on misinterpreting the data or deleting conflicting data. It's a natural human brain tendency we have to fight to overcome.
Окей. Том, давайте предположим, что вас бы пригласили научить неких сотрудников адвокатской конторы заключать с клиентами сделки.
Tom, if we can think hypothetically, let's say you were invited to a certain law company to teach their staff how to close the deals.
Okay.
И у вас было бы всего 10 дней.
And if you had only 10 days to do that,
Ну, по часу в день.
let's say 1 hour a day,
как бы вы построили, какие темы бы вы с ними обсуждали?
what would be the list of topics or subjects that you would have discussed with them on those sessions?
I would discuss very few topics, but I would spend most of my time with examples so they believe the topic.
Но вы каким-то способом примеры бы подбирали?
But you would have been selecting those examples in a specific manner, right? So you would.
Yes. The first thing is decisions are made instantly before the information. Let's use that one. I might spend 30 minutes giving examples of what this happens in real life. When the proof of that is undeniable and they want to change their minds, I've made a big, huge step in their improvement. I would teach them that the close happens first. And then after that, it's just a matter of explaining details at our leisure. This would remove their fear of sales rejection and also give them confidence that they only have to be good for 30 seconds.
Окей. Том, давайте как-то структурируем хотя бы там несколько тем, которые обязательно должен знать вот этот сотрудник адвокатской конторы, чтобы быть на среднем уровне успешным.
Tom, if you don't mind, could we categorize the topics, the specific topics that you would, for instance, teach this law company so that the people reach at least the medium level of efficiency in closing the deals, at least?
I would not teach in this order, but this is the flow in the human mind. Number one is influence.
Давайте ее чуть расшифруем, чтобы было понятно, что это такое.
Could we a little bit elaborate what do you mean by influence?
If we have influence, people will make a yes decision with no other thought. If your favorite football player says, wear this type of shirt, we say, yeah, of course.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to teach them how to have influence over their prospects. Now, people will grant you influence over everything if they feel you're an expert at only one tiny thing. So let's say we want to sell real estate. If you were known as somebody that was smart about money, they would take your real estate advice. So the first thing that happens in the human mind is, do you have influence or not? Let's say they don't. Then we go to step number two. building trust and rapport. Maybe we tell them 2 facts they already believe, and that step is done. The next step is to tell them what we do or what we want them to do. At that moment, they will make an instant decision. The closing happens automatically at that moment. And then and only then would any details be chatted about later.
Окей.
So as we see, the key is introducing what we offer with great words.
Том, скажите, пожалуйста, а вот из всех вами написанных книг, вот если бы это была вот эта адвокатская контора, вы бы какую из них порекомендовали прочитать?
Tom, among all of your written books, if we're speaking about a law company, which book would you recommend them to read as a number one priority?
The book on influence, because if you have influence, you don't have to worry about anything else.
The title is Influence, about influence.
Yeah, the title is How to Create Influence. Yes,
Да, книга.
I will send you the title.
Том, я посмотрел огромное количество ваших выступлений.
Tom, I have watched like huge amount of your speeches.
И там вы как бы, ну, за столько лет можно было посмотреть. Я 20 лет смотрел ваше выступление.
And since I've been watching them in the course of 20 years, in the 20-year span, you can watch a lot.
Да, и ну, вы меня как личность всегда интересовали, как ученого.
And Oleg was always interested in you as a personality. He was interested in you as a scholar.
Да, я вообще вас считаю одним из самых умных, как бы, ну, людей, которые работают с навыками.
As I consider you to be one of the wisest people on earth who is dealing with the skills.
Да, и как бы у вас поразительная способность очень просто доносить до людей информацию.
And you do have an extraordinary ability to convey information and what you want to other people in a simple way.
Я это говорил 20 лет назад и повторяю сейчас.
And I have said the same thing 20 years ago, and I repeat the same thing now.
Да. Так вот, вы на своих выступлениях давали им одну фразу.
And in your speeches, you would give people one phrase.
За выступление, которую они могут использовать ежедневно.
And that phrase was something that the people that came to your lecture can use it on a daily basis.
И я так понимаю, это и есть вот эта фраза влияния, которая заставляет людей к этому человеку прилипать как к магниту.
And do I understand correctly that that phrase is the phrase of influence that allows, that creates you, that makes you a magnet that other people stick to?
Yeah, our phrases trigger automatic programs, so we don't need much more effort than having good phrases.
И получается, что когда человек говорит такую фразу, потом, вот когда вы им говорили, что я знаю, как заработать там пару тысяч долларов за неделю, да, то есть это, наверное, для США культовая фраза, да, то все люди начинают прилипать к этому человеку, чтобы послушать, как это сделать и в этом поучаствовать, потому что, например, ну, в России бы это, ну, не сработало бы, как бы, но в США деньги это культ, и там такая фраза, она делает человека жутко популярным, а если он еще и говорит это с невозмутимым лицом и продолжает есть, как это вы показывали, то, наверное, действительно там взрыв происходит за столом.
And for instance, to note one of your phrases that you have shared with your audience, for instance, telling that I know how to make several thousands of bucks in a couple of weeks. That phrase triggers something in people and they want to be with such a person. They want to find out how he does that. And probably, especially for the United States, it's a very powerful one because money is very important for people there. As opposed to, for instance, in Russia, probably that typical phrase would not have worked as well. But also to add to that phrase working so well in the US, the way you have demonstrated, if you tell that you can earn a couple of thousands of dollars in a short amount of time, and you keep the poker face and keep on eating your food as you have shown, that probably works like a nuclear power.
Well, without even having conversation, we know that most people have that program. They want more money. So it's pretty easy.
Это точно. Вот.
Exactly.
Вот. Еще один вопрос. Вот какую бы книгу из своих вы порекомендовали для продвинутого, высокого уровня прочитать?
And Tom, which book out of your books would you have recommended to read to a person who is on a advanced level in closing the deals?
There's a book called Pre-Closing, Pre-closing.
Вот кроме влияния, что нам еще необходимо для того, чтобы успешно заключать сделки?
Tom, one more question, if you don't mind.
Кроме вот знаний.
Speaking about influence and knowledge that we get from a person, what else is paramount for closing the deals?
We have to internally believe that the deal is great for them and they are going to say yes. And there's a reason for this. We have to internally believe that very strongly.
Okay.
People read our microfacial expressions. We can make up to 25 different facial poses per second. And their subconscious mind is sophisticated and could read these facial expressions. So the easiest way to control these microfacial expressions is to simply realize they are an automatic reflection of what we believe. So if we can control our personal beliefs, we control our microfacial expressions, which controls how they think internally automatically.
И последний вопрос.
And the last question.
Вот мы могли бы считать вами изданные книги некой программой обучения?
Could we consider the list of the books that you have authored as a specific, as a program of learning?
They're on different focused topics, and some people have already mastered some, and some people have no idea others exist. So it's kind of individual how they choose.
Окей. Мы вас благодарим за интервью. Спасибо вам огромное. И я думаю, что мы еще увидимся.
Tom, thank you very much for the interview. It was a huge pleasure and hope to see you again in the future.
Thank you for inviting me. And I hope everyone remembers our first 30 seconds is more important than our first 30 minutes.
Спасибо.
Thank you.
Спасибо большое.